Well, I have to thank you in advance for listening. A lot to say, very little time, so I'm afraid I had to script myself. There's too great a risk. Even my one idea is tripartite. So neighborhood is generally defined spatially as a localized community within a larger city or town, and functionally as a set of social networks with considerable face-to-face interaction among neighbors. In Toronto, the City of Neighbourhoods, rapid densification has allowed us to speculate on the vertical neighborhood, a concept being explored in various places around the world, as in here, Hall's linked hybrid complex in Beijing. The Greater Toronto Area has over 100,000 residential units currently under construction, with a staggering number of these defined in glass high-rises with retail at the base, amenity on the roof. Hall's slice porosity project here, like the linked hybrid, although far from perfect, experiments with disrupting this base middle top tradition. While slice porosity creates a series of tiered public plazas, valleys, and water gardens, linked hybrid creates a new street above the city that spans between and through dense towers, meant to counteract that sense of isolation that high-rise living usually brings. Without the luxury of the scale of a city block, however, the vertical neighborhood as a freestanding addition to an existing context, as here in the valiant effort of 88 Scott in Toronto, is what for us, I believe, offers the greatest opportunity for innovation. First, the architecture of the vertical street and its connectivity to surrounding hoods. Second, the instrumentality of glass in the neighborhood mix of program and interior-exterior public and private space. And third, the height advantage of farming solar and wind energy. This is the recent completed Rotterdam by OMA in Rotterdam, which is a 3 stacked towers, each 150 meters high and span a width of 100 meters. They are arranged in an irregular cluster that changes with changing perspectives, and the definition of the building changes depending on use, primarily offices, apartments, hotel, conference center, shops, restaurants, cafes, and support functions. At the base, a pedestrianized public hub with a large glass-covered common hall that collects lobbies to each tower, residents, office workers. They have full access to all of the programs, but they really only interact in plinth. This is basically a long elevated hall that serves as this general traffic hub, concentrated, seen here in the slide. The proximity of the blocks with small shifts and tight airspaces is negotiated with ubiquitous glazing. Massive surfaces of curtain wall create sealed office and hotel units. Outdoor spaces are limited to the transfer floors, ground floor, and west-facing balconies in residential units. But no matter how well-performing the curtain wall and how temperate the climate, air exchange challenges and heating and cooling loads are formidable, not to mention lack of outdoor planted space in what is essentially a 162,000 meter vertical city. Here in this slide, we see the west-facing balconies that underline the residential units. This is the space where, as architects, we need to operate. Not just in the realm of new glass technology, but new typologies for recessed balconies, terraces, and technologies that will pull enhanced light and air deep undercover. The possibilities are great. Here, the unbuilt Yongsan International Business District in Seoul, Korea, by BIG, whose take on this vertical neighborhood is what they call a three-dimensional community with triple the amount of ground floor, essentially. This is a scheme of interlocking horizontal and vertical towers, which tries to defy the idea of the typical circulation as linear, and social interactions where they only typically occur in lobbies or awkward elevator rides. Here instead there are 3 public bridges. Further to the question of balconies, here we see Jean Nouvel's One Central Park in Sydney, completed this year, where the somewhat typical shallow residential balcony is redefined with rigorous planting. Guide wires are meant to develop a veil or ephemeral screen of crawling plants that also carry water runoff, as well as aid in taming of heat gain at the recessed curtain wall. Also, vertical gardens, the biggest in the world of their kind, participate not only reducing the amount of glazing and softening that so-called brittle glass box, but also contribute to natural evaporative cooling. Balconies become cool gardens in the air where glass balustrades disappear and sunlight is tamed and by vertical planting. Of course, there is also the remarkable heliostat reflector, which is coming up, which cantilevers 20 meters out from the East Tower, 94 meters above the ground and podium levels, which ultimately reflects light down to these levels, which it collects from reflectors mounted on level 17 of the West Tower, that's the lower tower, which are designed to follow the sun's path and reflect light up into the mirror reflectors. The idea of enhancing sunlight for the purposes of allowing planting to grow in the vertical gardens and sky decks, while at the same time using the planting to tame the undesirable heat gain on the glazed unit, is central to this project, the Urban Forest Project in Chongqing by MAD, where each of the 70 floors are curved and offset to allow the sun to nourish those plants and pools and trees. With our shallow sun angles in winter, we need all the help we can get. To the right, an image of the next generation solar power system, and to the left, an innovative replacement window at Chicago's Willis Tower, which actually produces power without obstructing the view by using a photovoltaic glass unit, prismatic optics, and double glazing. The opportunity lies in high-tech energy-generating glazing that have the added benefit of keeping out the excess heat energy that plagues glass buildings. We need to profit from building height to harness sunlight and wind, as in that concept of the clock tower. And here, in NL Architect's concept for the Taiwan Tower of Power, which, like Oppenheim's core tower, utilizes a concrete exoskeleton to reach 300 and 400 foot heights to achieve thermal mass for insulation, shading for natural cooling, enclosure for terraces, and armatures for integrated, opportunistic, and very productive wind turbines. Thank you.